Welcome to River Tales. River Tales is a 30-minute program that will introduce you to fascinating people, take you to interesting places, and enlighten you on important events that happen in our region. River Tales is sponsored by Southeast Missouri Hospital.
The new Southeast Cancer Center. On the outside, a marvel of design and engineering. On the inside, a facility offering highly advanced levels of technology and treatment. But what really makes this cancer center different is what you can't see. A new way of thinking that says you're more than a patient with cancer. You are a person with hopes and dreams. This is your cancer center.
On this edition of River Tales, we're traveling to several counties in our region for some interesting sights and sounds. Our first stop is in Cape County at the thriving Cape County Cowboy Church, and then we travel north to St. Genevieve to see a tiger sanctuary, then back to Bufordville to see Bollinger Mill, and then south to Scott County to see the Sikeston Depot, and then over to Perry County to hike through Big Oak Tree State Park. Stay tuned to River Tales.
When we set out to create the Southeast Cancer Center, we made it our mission to build it on hope. And to center it around not only treating your cancer, but also celebrating your life. Cancer is a journey. And should you ever take that journey, we'll be here with you every step of the way. This is your cancer center.
What once started as an auction barn is now a thriving house of worship. Jim Matthews is the pastor of the Cape County Cowboy Church.
We're a cowboy church, and everybody that comes here sure isn't a cowboy. You don't have to be one to come here. But basically what we are, we're a church that reaches a group of people that really love and long for more or less that cowboy way of life, even though some of them never owned a horse, never want to. But there's some basic things about that it's usually more of a rural type lifestyle. We kind of targeted that group whenever we started this church back in '04 and trying to reach that segment of society. And so that's where we started from. And we worship the same Jesus. We sing with the great old hymns that have been around for forever, a lot of the new ones. But we try to do each of those in a way that appeals to those. It's most of our singing's more of I always say it sounds like they stepped out of a bar full of Jesus, more of a country band style. If you interview most of our people, they would typically listen to country western radio stations. So as we worship, as we sing, we try to do it in such a way as that. It's more that culture of people that we are and that we seek above others to reach, and do it in such a way that communicates with them. And we don't use a lot of church language and et cetera, and it's godly language, but it's not necessarily the religious language of praise the Lords and hallelujahs all along, and nothing wrong if somebody does that. Man, we love the cross, we love the fish symbols, we love pictures of Jesus, not a thing wrong with that. But one of the things we try to do, there's no statement that says in all things spiritual be natural and all things natural be spiritual. So sometimes we want to take some of the churchiness out of our facilities, especially to seek those that are non-believers, so when they walk in, they don't just get slapped in the face of religion that they're a little foreign to, not comfortable with yet, and especially the Christ of our faith. And so what we've chosen to do is we'll take a wonderful picture that they can relate to, that will draw them to something they're familiar with, and then underneath it we'll write something how we're to bear one another's burdens. And so it takes a natural event in their life and puts a spiritual twist to it that's subtle enough, but yet drives a message home from there. course, we started out in a barn, and we were all comfortable there. You didn't have to clean up to go. If your boots had mud and other kind of cow stuff on it, it really didn't matter. It served us well for 5 years, but just simply we outgrew it. And because of pure size sake, we had to leave it, and we've put together a building that will house us now. What we like about this location, first of all, it gives us room. Typically on a Sunday morning, we'll run somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 people. And where we were before, we could seat 419 people if they were all skinny. We had to have 2 services, and so now we can all come, we can worship in one place. We've got, where we rented that, we were able to use it one night and a few hours on a Sunday morning. Here we use it day in and day out. A lot of different activities that we're able to do, whether it be Bible studies or other events that we're able to use it from that standpoint. Everybody was so comfortable with the old barn. I mean, they weren't threatened by it. We felt at home in it. And we wanted that same atmosphere as we came here. And so with that, we've, like in this room, this is old walnut, 22 years old, that's been sitting in a barn that we just put rough cut walnut up. Down below, as you saw, the worship centers, those are hand-hewed logs that we took out of old barns that we tore down and did that with a lot of stonework, the old chuck wagon that's there, all of that just to give that feel for the culture that we're used to. You know, for us, padded pews, nothing wrong with them, but for us, it's just, we're more comfortable like it is here. You know, carpeted floors, nothing wrong with them, but we love concrete. And like I said, we can just be at home like this. We've got a lot of young couples, a lot of youth, we've got a lot of senior saints. We've just got a lot of people from every age bracket and from a lot of different walks of life. I mean, we've got factory workers and farmers, doctors and lawyers and teachers and judges, and the list goes on. And so it's a pretty good gamut, but there's usually a common thread amongst us. It's a love of this culture, but most importantly, it grows into a love for our Jesus.
Well, I like the Cowboy Church because I really like the music. My grandparents started invited me to go here.
The greatest thing that we found is just, first of all, our God. You know, it's kind of interesting. The horse and the connection to the horse, or maybe the uniqueness of the title of our church, Cowboy Church, or that we met in an auction barn. Many times, that was kind of the hook that drew people in. But what we found out is they come the first time for maybe something like that that's a little unique, or something that's a kinship. But what keeps them is the Spirit of God.
At Southeast Missouri State University's River Campus this season, you'll find passion, friendship, tradition, swinging, classics, innovation, wit, laughs, and heart. All that's missing is you. Call 573-651-2265 to order your tickets today.
I remember one day when I got really mad at my mom. But my dad, instead of getting mad at me, he taught me a lesson I'll never forget. The ball I was throwing was damaging the fence. And my dad told me that harsh words can be even more destructive.
Life's most important lessons are best learned in the home.
If you have diabetes, join the movement to stop diabetes as a Red Strider at the American Diabetes Association's Step Out, Walk to Fight Diabetes. Sign up today at diabetes.org/redstrider.
Southeast Missouri doesn't seem like a place where you'd be able to see tigers, but the National Tiger Sanctuary has an estate that serves as home to some majestic and beautiful cats.
Consisting of a community of teachers and learners, the National Tiger Sanctuary, located in Bloomsdale, Missouri, creates a safe and protective environment for people of all ages. Georgia Woolert, a volunteer for the Tiger Sanctuary, has been a veterinarian technician for over 20 years. It's safety first at the sanctuary. The popping you hear in the background comes from the electric fence.
The Tiger Sanctuary was founded basically because Keith Kincaid and Judy McGee, the founders of the foundation, were very wealthy at one time, and they decided to give back. And they went around to a lot of different zoos and a few different sanctuaries, and while working with the zoos and the sanctuaries, they realized a lot of people do not understand this animal. There's not a lot of information out there, whether it be medically or psychologically or, you know, habitat-wise or food-wise or anything out there to help keep this animal alive. And they realize that everybody loves tigers, and they just make a really good environmental awareness tool. My husband met Keith and Judy about 7.5 years ago and introduced me to them. I've always wanted to work with the big cats, and I've been a vet technician for over 20 years. I always worked with the little guys, and now I work with the big guys.
The National Tiger Sanctuary consists of 8 tigers and 1 mountain lion. They receive these animals from people and facilities from all over the world.
We'll get them from private individuals. We'll get them from zoos that don't want the older cats because they don't look as pretty as the younger ones. We get them from circuses, roadside zoos, Hollywood. We get them from drug dealers, a lot of different places.
Taking care of these fascinating animals is just like taking care of a human being.
We have a few different veterinarians that we work with to take care of our tigers. The kind of care that they need would be just like you and I. You know, you need the proper food, the proper nutrition, you need the proper emotional stability. You need to be told, just like a child, that you're great and, you know, build up that confidence. And that's basically what you would do for a child, we do for our tigers. When we're open, we're more visible in front of them, we talk to them more, but we believe, just like you and I, we love our friends and family, but after the 4th day, you guys gotta go home.
With each tiger having their own personality, you never know what you're going to experience when taking a tour at the Tiger Sanctuary.
The tigers respond to the tourist, I guess it really depends on the tour, you know, and depends on the tiger also. Mariah likes to smile at little girls. Paul likes to scare little kids by roaring at them, you know. Max depends on the women he falls in love with. Dee will fall in love with certain men. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes, so it all depends on the people. And it really depends on what the tiger, you know, sees in that person. Vincent's the biggest one here. He's the gentle giant. Paul's the smallest. He's the instigator. Max falls in love with women. Dee's the princess. You know, she's the sister. TJ, he's white, so of course he thinks he's better looking than everybody because they can see color and he's different. So, you know, you get to see the personalities as you just watch them grow.
The National Tiger Sanctuary provides a safe and fun environment where we can enjoy the beauty that is the diversity of creation.
I will teach a child.
I will be an entrepreneur.
I will help troubled children.
I will grow the world's food.
I will prepare our future for their future.
I will do great things.
Because of Southeast Missouri State University regional campuses.
Experience Southeast, experience success.
You will.
Visit www.semo.edu.
For more than 80 years, Southeast Missouri Hospital has grown and evolved to meet the needs of the community. We have not limited ourselves to a single location, but rather expanded through our entire region, providing services where they have not been offered before. Today, we are more than one building, and we are more than a hospital. To reflect this growth, we are proud to introduce Southeast Health, a regional system of care. To learn more, visit sehealth.org.
If you are intrigued by the mystique and lore of simpler times, you'll enjoy our trip to Bollinger Mill. Take a trip back to simpler times.
And my title here is Historic Site Administrator. I work for the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, and this is one of 83 state parks and historic sites that's operated by the Division of Parks. It was important to the settling of the West as people moved from the East Coast and into this part, especially after the Louisiana Purchase. As farmers cleared land and they had to have some place to take their grain to have it processed, and there's been a mill on this site ever since 1800. Most grist mills that you see are built rather tall And that's to take advantage of gravity to allow the grain to flow from one step to the next. And in this particular mill, the fourth floor had equipment that was used for cleaning the grain to prepare it to be ground. When the grain was brought to the mill by farmers, a lot of times it had dust and dirt and debris mixed in with it, and all of that had to be removed before they used it for grinding. Then on the third floor they had storage bins for that clean grain, along with other machines, various types of sifting devices that were used for removing bran and other byproducts from the wheat and in order to produce white flour. And then on the second floor, that's where the real business of the mill occurred. That's where all the grinding equipment was located, the mill stones and roller mills. The stones are large round stones, and you can see on the surface of the stone that there's a pattern of furrows or grooves that are cut into it, and those were important in how the stone worked. Those are what actually did the grinding of the grain that passed between them. And the first floor I kind of refer to as the shipping and receiving. That's where the farmer brought his grain into the mill, where they weighed it and tested it for moisture and such, and then also where they packaged all the various products that were coming down from the machines on the upper floors. George Frederick Bollinger, who came out here and established this site in 1797, had brought 20 families out here in 1800, including 6 brothers and nephews of his, and that's one of the reasons that the Bollinger name is so well established here in southeast Missouri.
Can you feel it? The drive, the endurance, the competition, the heart, the energy. There are more than 300 student athletes at Southeast Missouri State University working hard, achieving excellence in academics and athletics. Your support to the Southeast Booster Club provides scholarships, opportunities to pursue their dreams. Visit GoSoutheast.com or call 866-SEMO-TIK for more information.
Southeast Health, much more than a hospital. Southeast Health, a regional system of care.
Sikeston's Cultural Center, the Depot, is home to a museum that preserves the rich history of this growing southeast Missouri city.
Welcome to the Sikeston Depot Museum. Come on in, let me show you around. Welcome to our museum. Let me take this opportunity to give you a little history about the Sikeston Depot Museum. This museum was founded opened up in the year 2000. It was a train depot originally, Union Pacific Train Depot, that opened in 1916, and it operated as a train depot and then as a train depot and a bus depot both until 1985. Then it was left vacant, and it came to a point in 1997 where they said, well, we're either going to have to tear it down or fix it up, one of the two. And a group of people called the Sikeston Cultural Development Corporation set up that organization to save the depot. And the work began in '99 and they opened in 2000. And the purpose from the very beginning here has always been twofold. One is to preserve and display area history. The other purpose is cultural. We always have art on display here. We try every 2 months to have an alternating art display. We also have art competitions, poetry competitions, book lectures, anything that we can come up with. And we're continually trying to come up with new ideas to keep our cultural aspect fresh here. And as far as the historical aspect, we're trying to expand on that. We're trying to do more outreach to the school system. Now, we're divided here into what I call 3 main galleries. This gallery is Southeast Missouri history. In 1860, John Sykes platted this town. Now, if you look closely at John Sykes' picture, you'll see that he has an odd beard. He didn't always have that beard that just went here. I'm from Sikeston, grew up here. I've always seen that picture of John Sykes, but I never knew why. And it wasn't until I came here that I learned that story. John Sykes in 1864, during the Civil War, had his store, and no one knows what they were. You used to always hear it was a group of Confederate ruffians. They came to John's store, and they asked him for supplies, and they weren't going to pay for them. And so he told them to go to another store, I suppose. I don't think that's probably what he said. But they didn't like his answer much. They roughed him up a little bit. He refused to give them the supplies, so they took him right outside the store up to an oak tree and they hung him. Now, just about half a block away was his home. His wife heard the commotion, saw her husband dangling from the tree, came screaming down the road, begging for mercy, and she said that she would pay $200 in gold if they would cut him down. Well, he was kicking and screaming, and the story goes he was almost black, and they finally decided they cut him down. John Sykes, not surprisingly, decided that he was going to get his family out of Sikeston, at least for the rest of the war. Took them up to St. Louis for the last year of the war, and he grew that strange beard to hide the scars from being hung. The war ended. He came back, reopened his store, opened a little cotton gin, and then in 1867, a friend of his was at a nearby saloon, had gotten liquored up, got a little crazy. He took his friend's gun to make sure that nothing crazy would happen. A couple of days later, the friend came back. He gave him his gun back, turned around to go back in his store, and his friend shot him in the back, and that's how the founder of Sikeston died. And those two stories, whenever we tell those to the kids, we usually have their attention. From World War II, every city did its part. Sikeston seemed to do a little bit more than its part, though, when it came to World War II. We had an Army Air Corps training base here where we trained 7,000 pilots and aviators. We have a story we tell here about an auction that was held of war bonds held by grade school kids, and Sikeston people bought enough war bonds in that one afternoon to buy 2 B-52 bombers. Then the Matthews family, who's one of the founding families of this town and a wealthy family, they kicked in enough money to buy a 3rd bomber. We did our share.
Welcome home, man.
I will be a star.
I will be an entrepreneur.
I will build your home.
I will teach a child.
I will grow the world's food.
I will help those in need.
I will protect you from danger. I will save lives.
I will.
I will.
I
Will.
I will because of Southeast.
Because of Southeast Missouri State University.
Big Oak Tree State Park is nestled against the mighty Mississippi in East Perry County. Just a short drive away, the park is home to some of the largest and oldest oak trees in the state.
My name is Christopher Crabtree. I work with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Division of State Parks here at Big Oak Tree State Park. I'm a natural resource steward. Big Oak Tree State Park is owned and operated by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Division of State Parks. Early on in the 1930s, the local community realized that most of their bottomland hardwood forests were declining and were pretty much kind of a rare commodity. So they started looking to save this particular part of the county. Some very interesting facts about this park is in the 1950s it actually contained 10 state champion trees or national champion trees. Today, unfortunately, we have less than that. The total right now is 5 or approximately 4 because in the last large storm, actually Hurricane Ike, we've lost one of our state champion trees, which was the black willow. So we may be sitting at 4 state champion trees with 1 or 2 national champion trees. That is one of the very interesting aspects to this park. Actually, behind me, over my right shoulder, you can see one of our state champion bur oak trees, Crocus macrocarpa, which this particular specimen is almost 130 foot tall. One of the beautiful kind of scenes of the park, this is why many visitors come to the park, is to see these large hardwoods. Another very interesting aspect to this park is that we have a man-made lake, which also brings in many visitors and local men and women to fish. So that is another interesting aspect to the park. Part of the national natural landmark that's located within Big Oak Tree is actually a picnic area. So we have a lot of family events, reunions, and similar events that take part in that picnic area, which contains also some of our state champion trees. Our trail system does a really good job of taking visitors through the representative communities, both within the natural area, and it takes us through this hardwood bottomland forest and gets into some of the swampy areas where we see a lot of cypress, bald cypress trees and other lowland swamp plants. So we have 2 different trails, the Boardwalk Trail, which is an elevated trail that allows visitors to see many areas of the park when it's underwater during its natural flooding. One of our other trail systems, just over 1.5 miles long, takes you through part of the natural area, past a few of our state champion trees, and just showcases a little bit of the higher parts of the park, which is actually only about a meter change in elevation, but it's areas that do not flood nearly as easily as some of the other swampy areas. The recent event of Hurricane Ike has actually brought in a lot of damage to the park. We have many of our large trees have fallen throughout the park and have done extensive damage, some of that being to the trails themselves and the boardwalk, but then other areas away from general visitor usage where many trees have come down, which is part of the natural makeup of this community, of any community, is this change in the dynamic of the overstory. But here at the park itself, we've lost many large trees. One of those, our black willow, a state champion tree, has been damaged. So at times, these natural occurrences do affect the state of the park itself. The flooding that occurs both right around Ike and it occurred earlier in 2008 is a natural part of the park itself. We lie in the floodplain of the Mississippi River. That is why the park is here itself, because not only the sediments that were brought in from the Mississippi, but the flooding has really made the face of this park exactly what it is today. Here at Big Oak Tree, of course, with all of the large trees we have in various stages of development, from young seedlings that are just sprouting to very old trees which are slowly dying and decaying, even to those that have already fallen, fungi are interacting with all of those particular stages in some respect. So many people are familiar with the old adage of, from a small acorn comes the great oak. The large bur oak behind me produces, of course, acorns, being an oak, and this is an acorn from this particular tree. As you can see, not much, but it can produce a very large tree indeed.
Each month, we will take this journey where there are many places to go. There are many interesting people to meet, and so many new things to see. Join us again on River Tales.